and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 9 a.m. here in the Mile High City on this Friday, September 26, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we'll be talking with Robin Carnes. She's running for re-election, Centennial City Council, District 1. We'll be asking her questions about the battles Centennial's having, for instance, with Polis administration, all the development that he wants to push upon these communities. Are they part of the lawsuits against him? Plus, her vision, where she wants to take Centennial. We'll be talking about that and more. Now is time, though, for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Good morning. 58 TGIF. Partly cloudy in Denver. Plenty of sun out there. Expecting a high of 81 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234. To learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, nice work, Jim Hooley from Fox 31, an armed suspect accused of trespassing and burglarizing in the area and on the run this morning was caught after Hooley spotted him walking in downtown Idaho Springs. Excellent. They were tossing to Hooley before his live shot this morning, and the police were behind him in the squad car.
He stopped and took a good look at us.
Yes, that's correct, Andrew. We just want to check with the police. Did you get him? You got it down at the Safeway, right in the middle of town? Very good. Great work. Thank you, officer. There you go. We're just talking to police up here.
That's awesome. Love it. Get it done. Now that's how you do a live shot, and you get the guy on the run, the armed suspect. Great job, Jim Hooley.
It's about justice, really. It's not revenge. It's about justice. It's also about the fact that you can't let this go on. They are sick, radical left people, and they can't get away with it.
A grand jury has indicted former FBI Director Benedict Arnold James Comey. He's been charged with one count of making false statements and one count of obstruction of justice. Such a fraud. Here's Eddie Haskell.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it.
Oh, my God. I'm not afraid as long as you're behind bars and not part of the FBI. Inflation is little changed. The Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, a key inflation gauge used by the Federal Reserve, went up 0.3% in August, in line with expectations. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says world support for Israel has evaporated. Many United Nations delegates walked out of the auditorium as he began addressing the General Assembly on Friday. His address comes as several Western countries have started to recognize a Palestinian state. A memo signed by DJT is ordering a probe into domestic terrorism and organized political violence from what he calls the radical left. The memo signed Thursday directs his administration to allocate funding for law enforcement partners to detect, prevent, and protect against such threats. Trump told reporters The aim of the memo was to target the funders of the groups he believes are behind the threats. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordering hundreds of U.S. admirals and generals to head to Virginia for a meeting. The reason for the meeting is unclear, but multiple reports say it will take place at the Quantico base in Virginia. All right, I have to play this again because Mike Davis is just hits the target. It's beautiful.
Lawyer
Talking about Comey.
up, Big Jim, and we are going to be making the 6'6" prison jumpsuits as we speak, because this guy is a snake. He participated in the biggest scandal in American history. When they talk about the threat to democracy, Crossfire Hurricane and the cover-up is the gravest threat to democracy we've seen in America. And so justice is definitely coming.
Now, that's number 2 on the list for soundbite of the week, interview of the week. Finally, on this Friday, as we enter the weekend, this dude is incredible. I have to play it again.
I'm really excited. God has blessed me with the ability to lead a Bible club at my school, too. So I really think that's really cool. And being able to just lead, sense, and pray is just a really beautiful thing.
Yes, Daniel Hunt.
That's
What
nice
an
of you,
awesome
Blake.
kid.
Thank you, brother.
Oh, man. That warmed my heart, man. He's such a great kid. You have great kiddos, and God bless him. And hopefully you guys have a great weekend. That
It even warmed the cockles of my heart because it's kind of cold and dark. Also, because I just wanted to say that word on the air.
He was leading prayer at his little cross-country meet yesterday. He's a natural-born little pastor, I think.
Look at him. Apple not falling far from the tree.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome. And when you could pray in front of a lot of people at that age, that is so beautiful. That is one of the greatest things that he will ever be able to do in his life, and that he has learned from you guys. That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a great, you should be proud of all of them. And you too, Billy. Thursday night football last night, Seahawks over the Cardinals 23-20. The Ryder Cup is underway. Oh, man, if you want to take a nap, it may be difficult this time with this tournament because the galleries are loud and they are on fire and they're excited about the Ryder Cup. Beth Page Black and DJT will be there later in the day. He says get there early. 57 in Westminster, 56 in Littleton, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue, and I'm Blake Olson.
My name's Blake. Do you want to go to war, Malaki? I'm for real.
You guys have a great Friday, and thanks, and say hi to Blake for me.
We'll do that's a balake to you.
I had to play that one. All right, Steph, if he's listening, I hope Steph's feeling well. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Gorgeous September weather here for the next few days for Denver in the Front Range. Temperatures will be very comfortable, mid to upper 70s today, low 80s Friday, upper 70s Saturday. Will be a touch cooler in the low to mid 70s Sunday. Today through Saturday, sunny and dry. Maybe an isolated shower late Sunday, otherwise pleasant. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. I need to correct the record. Centennial is not suing Governor Polis. That's Greenwood Village. It doesn't mean that they don't have their own challenges.
So you're saying we can make an announcement this morning? Break some news?
I know. No, they got their own challenges. And to give us some insight on that, plus she's running for re-election. She's done a fantastic job. She's a good friend of the show. Robin Carnes joining us live in studio. Good morning, Councilwoman.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Jeff and Bill. Thanks for having me this morning.
Give us a current run of the land with regards to how Centennial's doing. In fact, I was there yesterday. There was a cross-country race, and I was driving through going, gosh, this is just a beautiful community.
It is. And you know what? our constituents feel the same. In fact, we were just voted earlier this spring the #1 city to live in Colorado, according to U.S. News and World Report. So,
really?
In addition to that, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary. So we're a young city, but we've done pretty darn well. I just want to make mention, you referenced the lawsuit against Governor Polis, and you're correct. Centennial is not part of the 6 cities that decided to pursue that, but we are in support of taking a strong stance for home rule. We think the local citizens know what's best, not our state.
Yeah, and that lawsuit is about the fact that he wants high-density multifamily in all these bedroom communities around the city of Denver, and there's a reason we don't live in Denver.
Yeah, that's right.
It's because we don't want high-density multifamily.
You're right. People move out of Denver for a reason, and what people really need to understand about what's going on is, take Centennial, for example. We already have zoning and local permissions in place. So as a county, Arapahoe County, which Centennial's part of, they have 90,000 units that have yet to be started. Now, why have they not started? So we're complying with what's been asked, but they haven't started because of state legislation, red tape, lack of insurability, market financing, the cost of labor, et cetera, et cetera. Everything has gotten more expensive to build. So that's the real why behind the what.
Right. So all been approved, all ready to go.
Yes.
But the building hasn't started, and here comes Jared Polis threatening to withhold funds if you don't get in line. That's why Greenwood Village, for instance, Aurora, Glendale, Arvada, Lafayette, and Westminster all suing.
Yes, and those, Jeff, I want to add, Jeff and Bill, that those 6 cities were very strategically picked, meaning it wouldn't have made sense for every city, every local jurisdiction in Colorado to join that lawsuit. That would have been a headache, right? But they represent the whole, the collective. So if they are successful, every city and municipality wins.
We're talking with Robin Carnes. She's running for re-election in District 1, Centennial City Council. Where's your district? Tell people where it is.
So that's great. District 1 is the west side of Centennial. We always say, the west side, what's our story, right? We've got some great stories. So the boundaries are northern Orchard Road, southern will be a County Line Road. The east border is going to be Colorado Boulevard, and the west border is Broadway. So it's everything within that area, with the exception of what's directly across from streets of South Glen, which is Cherry Knolls and the Knolls. So if you look at Centennial, we're long and lean. We're 15 miles wide, about 3 miles deep. It's the furthest west portion of Centennial. And if you look at the cutout, it's a giant C for Centennial, or Carnes for Centennial. We like that.
Is this your first term? Or are you wrapping up your first term?
I'm wrapping up my first term, so I'm running for re-election.
What do you think your biggest achievements were?
I think my biggest achievement, which is really important, is good governance. And what I mean by that is, your local municipal races are nonpartisan, or supposed to be. Let's just call it what it is. And so, for instance, I have worked really hard with my co-counsel to look at the whole and build relationships. When you get elected, everybody wants to know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you really can't do much until you build relationships with your co-counsel, because it'll take a majority vote to get something accomplished. And so instead of what have you done and what are you going to do? I have a solid relationship with every single person on council. And you really have to develop that in your first term. So then your second term, you can carry things forth and continue. So as far as what have I done, I have an excellent relationship with my co-counsel, who happens to be a Democrat, and she has become a dear friend. I love her dearly. We govern well. And I will just say that's not the case for every council. That's not the case for every district. But I think when we get elected, we don't represent just one party. As an elected official, I represent all. And so then when I'm re-elected, God willing, I will continue to represent all.
That's Robin Carnes. She's running for re-election for Centennial City Council, District 1. And it's important to point out, you guys aren't necessarily into the cultural battles the same way a state lawmaker might be. For you, it's running a good city, right? Making sure
Streets.
you have good roads, safety, community.
Yes.
And I believe Centennial was rated one of the, as you mentioned, the top city to live into, but one of the safest cities as well.
Yes.
And see if I can pull that up here. We were talking about it, yeah. But the South Metro Denver area is being one of the safest areas in Colorado.
That's right. And, I love that you said it isn't about the social issues, because we're really about streets and safety. And I always say potholes aren't partisan. So when you call about needing to repair a pothole, we're not going to ask what party you're with or whether you're independent or, unaffiliated. We just want to get it done. And that's really how we should. I think a lot of people could benefit from, a lot of elected officials could benefit from that. We don't want to bring partisan politics into our local municipalities. It's streets and safety, which is not sexy. It isn't. But if you think about it, every street leads to a home or a business, a school, a place of worship. So really it's about people and pathways. That tends to come off a little nicer.
What do you hear the top complaints from constituents when they show up at your city council meetings?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, the biggest and most contentious issue last year, a couple of years ago actually, was pickleball. Pickleball. People love their pickleball games, and yet the very sound of the paddle hitting the ball is just completely annoying and sort of invasive to our communities. And so we came up with a win-win solution. And now we are sort of a model internationally. We have our staff has gone to international conferences to talk about pickleball. It's minor. It might make you kind of giggle, but pickleball is a big issue. But it's always, when I knock on doors and as I'm talking to constituents, I will ask them, how do you think the city's doing? And they're like, it's great. They have no criticism. And then when I dig a little deeper, well, what keeps you up at night? They say, we don't like the crime that could be coming to us, so maybe can you get some more law enforcement on the streets, and we look very favorably upon that. In fact, we have a great partnership with the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. We do not have our own police department because it just, at the time, it wasn't a good use of taxpayer dollars, because we do well with the Arapahoe County Sheriffs. And so I think constituents, they would just like to see a little more patrol, a little more school resource officer presence, a little more, co-responder presence. So that's what I typically hear, that and affordability. It's just, my budget's gone up 30 to 35%. So whether it's fuel or groceries, it's just tough right now.
That's right. That's Robin Carnes. She's running for re-election for Centennial City Council. By the way, her website is carnesforcentennial.com, CARNES for centennial.com. Now, you're like a powerhouse family of public service. Your husband serves as a first responder, law enforcement, right?
Yes.
Talk about why both of you all care so much about serving the community.
I know. You certainly don't do it for the money. But it's a calling. You're called to public office, at least those that do it for the right reasons. It's a calling, and you can't shake it. And my husband, too. I always say, if you're going to get arrested, you want to get arrested by my husband, because he has just great respect for all of mankind. In fact, he tells me stories sometimes of when those things happen and there's contention with, like, let's just say inmates or people that are being arrested. They will come to him later and they'll apologize, for kind of being jerks, because he just has that calm demeanor. And it's like everybody screws up, but only a few get caught, right? Let's just call it what it is. And so he just has good general respect for all of mankind, the right kind of person to be in law enforcement for the right reasons.
Yeah, very impressive family. So, Robin, let's talk about crime in particular. Mm-hmm. We have some good district attorneys. For instance, George Brockler in the 23rd Judicial District, when he got put into that position, when he won that election, he draws a giant map and roads and comes out with a giant map and says, if you're a criminal, drive around this county because we will actually prosecute you. Amy Patton, on the other hand, there's a recall effort right now with her. What do you think of Amy Patton?
Yeah. I would like to see us be tougher on crime, because, my background's education, and I'll never forget, I had this cooperating teacher, and she said, you don't give 3 strikes, because when you give 3 strikes and then they're out, they have 2 more to screw up. Whereas if you nip it in the bud the first time, then it sends a strong message to everyone else, right? And so I would like us to to be tougher on crime, everybody will sleep a little better at night, if we are.
I mean, do you support the recall effort that Danielle Jurinsky's leading?
Right now I'm staying out of it, right? Because it's to me, let's focus on the city. Let's focus on streets and safety.
That's Robin Karn, Centennial, City Councilwoman for District 1, running for re-election, joining Jeff and Bill live. So, Robin, we've talked about this a little bit, but what do you think are some of the larger challenges facing Centennial? Because your job, as you talked about, dealing with roads, potholes, just the whole governance, you're not getting into the social issues. So as Centennial, as has been outlined by U.S. News, that it is the #1 city to live in Colorado, people are going to flock there. People are going to shop there. There's going to be some growth, some expectations. What are some of the challenges facing Centennial in the path forward in the next few years?
Yeah, that's a great question, Bill. I think a major issue still is going to be housing, right? There's still a lack of housing, let me just rephrase it and say it's expensive. It's expensive to live in Centennial. So I do real estate for a living. And the interesting thing that most people don't realize is that right now, Colorado has more units, single family, especially condos. We have more inventory than any other time in history since 2014, right? And so there's a lot of options right now. It's a buyer's market. And so I go back to, it's really needs versus wants. When we first moved to Colorado, my husband and I lived in Lowry, and we really wanted to live in Park Hill, right? Because it was the up and coming neighborhood to live in, but we couldn't afford it. And so we moved to Centennial, and we're still in our house 22 years later that we bought. And so that's what's happening to Centennial. At the time it was affordable. Now Centennial, because we're the #1 city to live in, it's not as affordable. And yet there's other places around very close to Centennial that are affordable. So as a realtor, sometimes I have to advise people, buy a place outside of your desired city, build up some equity, and then you can move in, right? So, but on my street alone, we live in a working class neighborhood, entry-level homes. I mean, within a half-mile stretch, there's 4 homes for sale, little ranches, right? And so I don't know if that narrative is accurate, to be very honest. Right now, we can't control the markets. And I think the housing discussion, they're trying to control the markets. We can't control the markets. So that's the #1 issue. The second major issue I'm going to say is all of our retail centers. You see a lot of these strip malls that have not survived well, and those are a lot of our tax bases. They've not survived well because of everybody's buying online, right? So let's just take Streets of Southland, for instance. That's the big elephant in the room in District 1. It has beautiful landscaping, amazing concerts in the summer. We've got Whole Foods, all these great businesses that are along University. They're thriving, but the businesses behind aren't. It's an outdoor mall. There's a lot of outdoor malls that are struggling right now. So how do we take those spaces and make them vibrant as city centers that people want to come to?
Well, I used to hang out at the old South Glen.
Yes,
and that
me
was
too.
like the primary mall I hung out with. We could always just bring it back at a Blockbuster Video and Orange Julius. Return to old school South Glen.
That's right. That's right. I was in grad school and I studied at that coffee shop, but I remember I took my kids to the fountains and played when it was younger. And I will just say this, it is on our radar. It is on our radar, and we are working very diligently as a city. But Streets of Southland was an issue that I inherited. So the previous council voted on the redevelopment, and then all of a sudden it kind of waits to be developed and waits because of all those things. It's very expensive, right? What do you do with it so it thrives?
Yeah.
It's a very, very complicated issue, but that's what good leaders do, is we don't stray from it, we tackle it, and we're doing that right now. So I will just say stay tuned when it comes to Streets of Southland. The other major issue, and it kind of ties into housing, is there's a lot of corporate buildings in Centennial that are no longer filled with offices, right? They can be redeveloped into additional housing right along, say, I-25, where it makes sense. Not in your, neighborhoods far from transportation, but along that I-25 corridor. So let's think collaboratively. How do we do that with potential developers creating the right type of housing for the right area? But here's the thing, it's incredibly expensive to do so. It's very expensive to outfit a building like that. And so cities, in fact, I just was at the Home Builders Association event last evening, and they were saying we need cities and municipalities to be a little friendlier with us, right? So instead of slapping red tape and regulation, let's figure out how to incentivize them, right? Because a thriving community will then produce more taxpayers, which will then in turn, turn into tax dollars, which will help with infrastructure. The other major issue that municipalities all across the South Metro area are facing is a lack of revenue to repair that infrastructure, right?
Right.
So how do we fix that? We don't want to raise taxes.
Well, and I understand the idea of converting office buildings into residential, because that's like Denver's plan right now. They're selling these office buildings for pennies on the dollar and converting them into residential. And I know this isn't a Centennial thing, but I look at that happening and I go, guys, is that because the businesses don't want to be here? You have office buildings that are vacant.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
It's not because everybody's working from home. That's a component, I understand, but I think businesses don't want to do business in Colorado anymore.
Well, absolutely.
Not because of Centennial, but because of the Democrats at the Colorado State Legislature.
Well, just know Centennial is open for business, and we've had many come relocate because we are a business-friendly city, and we understand a thriving business community, a thriving economic development will produce the taxpayers and the tax-paying, the dollars that we need, the revenue to fix those potholes and fix those roads, and then drive more business, and that impacts everything, schools, you name it.
It's a beautiful community, and you're doing a great job representing it. Robin Carnes, she's part of District 1 City Council. Right now, she's running for re-election, and you can learn more about Robin at carnesforcentennial.com, CARNES4, F-O-R, centennial.com. Robin, thank you so much for taking time to join us this morning.
Thank for having me, Jeff and Bill. Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
We'll continue. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bill's been kind enough to carry this program today because right as it kicked off at 6, I got a migraine.
Well, this is awful behind the scenes.
I couldn't even read what people were writing on the text message. I could generally get a sense of what people were writing, but I've gotten better. I feel a lot better now.
Yeah, I'm glad you're feeling better. And so if people were wondering why Bill was talky today, that's why.
Still not great. I was even disappearing to the bathroom.
Yes, you were. Yeah, you were yawning in Technicolor, as one of my coaches used to say.
Oh my gosh, it's so weird too. These have just started, and it just hits me. So you all have been kind.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting up with statements that were not all that coherent.
And those are just the ones coming out of my mouth.
And the funny thing was, I knew they weren't coherent, especially during the 6 and 7 o'clock hour. I'm sitting there going,
that was a rough one,
well, these aren't making sense to me. I know they're not making sense to you.
We did well,
but I am feeling better, so thank you all. All right. We love this aspect of the week where we get to ride off into the sunset with a little cowboy poetry from our friend Jeff Hildebrand, who's dressed to the nines. That is a shirt I would absolutely wear.
Yeah, that is a Friday Hawaii shirt, if I've ever seen one.
You look great, my friend.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Are you heading out?
I just feel much taller in this shirt.
It's great. Or are you going to go to the beach later? Mai Tais?
No.
Pina coladas?
No, absolutely not. This is a holiday. Today is a holiday.
What holiday is that?
And see, that's, well, let me explain to you. September 26th is a national holiday that most people don't realize. Today is a day you might not know, but every rancher knows it's so. It's a day they face with fear and dread, a day they wish would go unsaid. Today's a day when cowboys quake and think it's just a big mistake. But it's designed to overcome the differences that have become the source of anger and frustration that's sweeping across this fractured nation. Today's the day when cowboys must accept reality and adjust to changes in the cowboy way, 'cause it's Hug a Vegetarian Day.
Oh, geez. They smell funny, though.
I had a little migraine moment.
I was going to say, is that like a goat? Vegetarian? Goats are vegetarians?
Yeah.
So hug a goat today?
No, that's good. Oh, my God.
Have you guys known people that have been true vegetarians? Like been committed to it? I've always, all the vegetarians in my life were vegetarians for about 6 weeks.
No, I knew a couple who you probably have heard of, Dennis and Jerry Weaver. Dennis, the actor, was a vegetarian, and occasionally he would eat like fish or chicken, but very rarely. But mostly when I worked with Dennis for 8 years on the Westerns movie channel. And we would get together and film segments for the movie channel. And so I was in charge of the crew and, of course, the meals that we would have. And you can't imagine how challenging it is to create a meal plan for the crew. And then a separate meal plan. You got to make sure the tables are separate, and the food doesn't interact with each other.
It's not a kosher requirement, is it?
No. It's just their requirement. They.
Now, Bill, you said that vegetarians smell.
Yeah,
what do you attribute the smell to?
I have no idea. It's just there's this thing, and again, I can say this because family members that are vegetarians. One of my wife's cousins has been a vegetarian for over 2 decades, and so she came to that really, really early, and it's just been her thing. Have other family members as well, and it's just. I don't know if just I just like the smell of meat or something, but there's a smell there, and I'm sorry about this. I'm just being 100% here, and but again, she has navigated, the family member has navigated this issue quite well. Doesn't get as angry as Jeff was just outlining about the idea of the food touching or anything else. She is fine with it, partly because of the community and where she lives and where she grew up, that this was somewhat unusual, but. The thing that's kind of interesting is she celebrates finding those restaurants around her community and elsewhere around Colorado that do have vegetarian options. She's not one of those like, oh my God, they serve meat here, I'm not going to go inside. No, she's fine with that. And she'll sit right next to you and she'll get the vegetarian options. And she talks about it. One of the things, and there's another vegetarian in my family that talks about one of the biggest problems they think that the vegetarians make, one of the biggest mistakes is they try to make their food taste like our food. They're like, no, just absorb it and just celebrate
plant-based cheeseburgers.
Yes, and they said, stop that. Just make it a plant-based.
I don't think it has anything to do with their diet. I think it has to do with the ancillary things that come with it, like not showering. So, all right.
Well, that's what patchouli oil is for. Didn't you learn that in college from all those people?
See, I'm thinking it's broccoli. People eat broccoli.
Oh, geez, that is
no matter what.
Someone pointed out to me that that's not found in nature. That broccoli is like you can't.
You find it in a closet
somewhere.
Well,
we grow it, but it's not something. Have you ever seen a broccoli plant just in the forest?
I've never been in the forest.
Like we have to grow it. I don't know where, or what's the white one? Not broccoli, but cauliflower.
Yeah, I've seen cauliflower in the fields. I've seen that.
But grown by a farmer.
Yeah,
but when do you stumble upon this stuff like out in a forest?
I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't know if I don't think the zone is either for broccoli. So
I'm usually when I'm walking in the woods, I'm usually looking up, trying to avoid the birds dropping stuff.
Oh, that's good.
All right, next poem. Next poem, Mr. Hildebrandt.
Well, this is, I guess this sort of relates. My Uncle Thomas Ellingsworth had a small Nebraska farm, and I would work there summers as a kid. We plowed the fields with horses, milked the cows by hand, and did the chores the way they always did. He didn't have a TV set, but had a radio, and we'd listen to on the radio each morning, rain or shine. At dinner, his dear wife would tell the latest about the neighbors, because back then their phone was on a party line. After Uncle Tom retired, he still lived on the farm, but he made lots of changes, don't you know? In the corner of the living room was a widescreen TV set where once there stood that big old radio. He hooked up to a satellite, but where they put the dish really left him feeling quite unhappy. They put it where the outhouse stood, and Uncle Tom was certain that's why the programs were so gall-darn crappy.
How much of your poetry has been influenced by Shel Silverstein? That seems like a Shel Silverstein inspired poem.
I do not know. I don't know what my inspiration is.
Yeah. Did you read Shel though?
I have seen him years ago.
Oh yeah.
On TV, and he did some stuff. I can't tell you what or where or when.
I was a fan of his. He was the original writer of A Boy Named Sue.
Yeah.
By Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So that quirkiness, I love that.
Yeah, it's the idea, and you've got to go deep into some of the Shel stuff. A lot of people understand and know the where the sidewalk ends, stuff like that. But you've got to go and do things like The Missing Piece, Lafcadio the Lion, and really get into some of the deeper stuff that he's doing. That becomes very, very interesting. Giving Tree, stuff like that, people know. But yeah, go find The Missing Piece. That's a cool one.
We'll continue to bring you some of Jeff Hildebrandt's great poetry. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It is about to be weekend time for many of us as we wrap up the Jeff and Bill Show. Final segment. We love to ride into the sunset with some cowboy poetry from Mr. Jeff Hildebrand, sir.
Hey, well, I'm telling you, grinned Pete Perdue, my Paula's so darn cute. Blue eyes, blonde hair with charm to spare, and humorous to boot. Well, there must be more than what I've seen to this waitress from the Dairy Queen, so I proceed to ask him to explain precisely what this Paula did that made him act like such a kid, and the reason for his rapture soon was plain. He said she called him late last night to say she's in an awful plight. Her brand new jigsaw puzzle is a mess. He thought that she was going to cry, so he got dressed and drove on by. What happened next, I never would have guessed. He said she's charming as can be, tousled femininity, in cowgirl jammies and her argyle socks. He saw the problem right away and told her he'd be glad to stay to put the cornflakes back inside the box.
That's great.
Oh, that is wonderful. That's something that I kind of miss personally growing up, is the idea that there are no more of the prizes in the bottom of the cereal boxes. Kind of miss that. Because there was always that idea that you knew what the prize was, and you're kind of like, well, do I open this thing and dig my hand in there and go brrr, all the way down and then to look for it? Or do I pour it out into a large bowl, or do you just have to wait? Sorry. And the big delineator on that is whether or not you had a sibling that was close enough in age. Because if you had an older brother or younger sister, yeah, you're digging in. You're digging in to get that thing right away so you don't get it. Yeah.
All right, we got time for one more, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm a pre-modern man in a postmodern age, a poet, a seer, a sayer, a sage who rhymes of how simple our lives used to be when Howdy Doody was on TV. I was here for the birth of rock and roll and saw the beginning of Blue-Eyed Soul, high school sock hops when Coke was a drink, and Saturday nights at the roller rink. And I speak baby boomer. I used to watch Jack Parr, and I wore green for Uncle Sam and drove a ragtop car. Tie-dye shirts, mini skirts, Peter, Paul, and Mary, the Beatles and Bob Dylan, Curly, Moe, and Larry. I was here for Sputnik and the U.S. on the moon, those Alabama marchers and lives snuffed out too soon, in Dallas and in Memphis. Our country mourned its loss while young men went to Vietnam to carry freedom's cross. Yes, I speak baby boomer. Things are groovy and they're cool. I'm the Woodstock generation and still hip as a rule. But my children now have children, and I think that it was better when generations had a name, not just a single letter. See, I speak baby boomer, not X or Y or Z, so let me lay it on you. Hopefully you'll see that all us baby boomers have plenty still to say. It's just harder to remember what, since our hair is turned to gray.
That is one of the best ones I think I've ever heard.
That's one of my favorites.
That is awesome.
Oh, my God, that is fantastic. That is wonderful. That is great.
What is that one titled?
Baby Boomer Blues.
Oh, yeah. That is. And the number of times when you get older and the kids coming up and this and Grandpa, like, listen, we've seen all of these things before. We've gone to this dance before. That is fantastic, my friend. That is wonderful.
Yeah, that goes right along with the poem I shared earlier called Hey Boomer.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That was a fun one, too.
Which my grandsons will listen to quietly, lower their eyes, lower their head, and just shake.
Oh. Yeah, the other day, one of my kids pointed out that I'm rocking some nice Adidas shoes. And they're like, hey, those are cool now. And I'm like, no. I've been wearing these for like 30 years. Yep. Everybody else has finally caught up to me. I've just been wearing the same thing that eventually, and you know this being a boomer, that eventually if you keep wearing the same thing, eventually it comes around again. Yeah, and you're cool again.
100%.
Yeah.
No, it's not because it's stylish.
Yeah.
It's because we paid for it We got to use it until it's worn out.
Absolutely. Yes, my friend. That's absolutely it. I have boots at home that are older than all of my children. And I remind them of that almost on a weekly basis. Yes.
And you are celebrating a 26-year-old. So, yes, that's how old.
Yeah, next couple of days. Yeah, my oldest is going to go to 26. So it's like over the quarter decade. It's over, quarter century. That's
how many
that's a big
grandchildren?
one.
I have 4 grandchildren.
4 grandchildren.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're almost as old as Bill.
Oof.
No.
No, I was going to say no.
Like, oh, damn. Okay. That's crazy. Oh, what happened to all of us?
Mentally, they're as old as Bill.
Well,
check. That means they're still running around going,
well, that's 15.
Hercules. Put Bluey on. That's not good.
You can check out Jeff Hildebrand's books on Amazon. Hildebrand, HILDEBRANDT.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Heading
right.
to the
Look at
holidays.
that, right
They're great
off
for
the top.
stocking
Didn't even read it.
Yep. Go ahead. They're great stocking stuffers. Check it out at Amazon. The price point is absolutely perfect, and they're a great thing for friends and family. If you've got that person that you don't know what color or size to buy, I know the exact right size of book. Check out Jeff's stuff on Amazon.
Well, and especially after all the debates all week long, to be able to finish with some poetry is great.
Yes, it's so special.
Brings the temperature down, gets us into the weekend just perfectly.
I am certainly glad the bar is so low.
You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
Denver's talk leader, News Talk
Colorado's
710.
lowest bar.
Yes, KNUS. Have a great week.